Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Luka Dončić suffers an injury scare. Get used to that angsty feeling, Lakers fans. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how or where you get your podcast, this one's always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, of course, is where over 36,000 subscribers to the channel are all breathing again after the weekend's injury scare for Luka Dončić. He suffers a knee contusion against, it was Latvia in the second half of that game, after lighting him up, by the way, it should be noted, in the first half. So played very well, left the game, and at the very least, if you were following along on Twitter and just watching headlines go by, as what happened to me, you damn near freaked out, Andy. But it does look like, from a physical standpoint, Luka is okay.
Yeah, the sequence happened where Luka, one of his teammates, I think, was essentially trying to take a charge as someone was driving against him, and his teammate ended up getting knocked into Luka, who was in pretty tight space as it was, went into Luka's leg and knee. To me, it didn't, honestly, I saw a lot of the freak out on social media, but then when I actually watch the sequence itself, it didn't look that bad, although you never quite know until you start getting a rundown of what's happened. Luka gets checked out, that sort of thing. But really where you knew it was going to be okay, beyond the fact that the Slovenian national team has actually said in a formal announcement that he's okay,
right,
was Luka coming back onto the bench in a very good mood without too much time elapsing between the incident and him reemerging. Like, I know it was a little bit scary, or at least anxiety producing in that period, but it didn't last that long.
No, and then you started to see like a trickle of news, people watching the broadcast. So they said on the broadcast apparently that he wanted to come back in, and good work, Slovenia. They said no. Not going to, in part because when Luka went out of the game, Latvia went on a big run, and I don't think the game was really in reach anymore at that point. It was a friendly, it was a prep game, so it's like it wasn't part of the tournament. They didn't need him to be in that. There was no reason at all. And again, reportedly practicing again, doing all that. Like he's okay. But that said, Andy, two things. First, it was his second game. After that sort of initial game, that was the first game he had played live. He skipped Slovenia's next game after that, was back on the floor for this one, and they really have 26 at halftime. Like, he was dominant in that first half. So in terms of seeing Luka round into form and look good on the floor and all that stuff, like, fans were getting a classic, like, let's go kind of moment, like, that's our guy kind of thing. And that's in part why it was so scary when he left the floor. But it is okay, first and foremost, I think, now to revert back to, we'll get to the injury question here in a second, but take a minute to be excited by how well he was playing in that first half before he had to leave with the injury.
It feels like a continuation of what we saw in that first game with Luka, the first time he had played 5-on-5 since the Lakers were eliminated by the Wolves in Game 5. Famously, the process of becoming skinny Luka involved no 5-on-5 basketball whatsoever. It involved very little basketball, period. But whatever time off between Game 5 and the first game for Slovenia, rust did not seem to be a thing at all. Like, even Game 1, with it not being Luka's most efficient outing, Luka's going to have, just like every great player, inefficient games that have nothing to do with rust. Like, sometimes,
yeah, I mean, he was,
you just miss shots.
He was still right. Is that rust? Is it timing? I don't know. But I mean, he didn't look bad by any stretch, and certainly
he looked comfortable. He looked very comfortable.
And so, like, you would expect Luka, by the way, to put up big numbers in these games. He typically does, his history playing with Slovenia. If you think the Lakers are going to be a Luka-centric group, certainly Slovenia is as well. But the other part about this is, we were talking about it kind of over the weekend, texting a little bit, like you get used to, it's an Olympic year. LeBron's going to play. Anthony Davis is going to play. Go back a few years. Kobe's going to play, whatever it is. And even now, there are more tournaments. There's that World Cup tournament that didn't exist before, and there are qualifiers, and there are things. There's just a little bit more going on internationally. But at least with the U.S., aside from the Olympics, you generally don't see the most elite players. Like there's that next group, the 1A guys, the B+ guys, a lot of times will play in the qualifiers or the lesser tournaments and things like that. Luka plays everything for Slovenia. If there is an international tournament that Slovenia can play in or qualify for of meaning, Luka's going to play in it. And it's not a negotiable. It's not a thing like, is he going to do it this year? It's not something where you can, as the Lakers or anybody else, whisper in his ear and say, maybe, how about you skip it this year or something like that? He takes that obligation incredibly seriously. It is baked into the Doncic experience. And so Lakers fans are going to have to get used to this type of feeling in the offseason where you are both watching him play with excitement and enjoyment, but maybe kind of looking through your fingers because you're worried the whole time.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't know how many non-Slovenian Laker/Luka fans are going to be watching this with any form of excitement. I think if most American-born or, frankly, born anywhere other than Slovenia Laker fans,
that's probably true.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
No, you're right. You're right. No,
how many Laker fans who are not Slovenian are going to be watching these games with any excitement, like true inherent excitement? How many of them do you think honestly would prefer Luka do this in the first place? As much as the highlights will be cool to watch after, maybe in the moment, but certainly after the moment, if Luka comes out of it in one piece. The reality is, I think still, if Luka comes out of it in one piece, most of these non-Slovenian Luka fans / now Laker fans, and Zdravo, welcome aboard to all of you, like, you're going to prefer Luka doesn't play in these things at all. And I don't think there are going to be many downsides to the Luka era experience for Laker fans, but this might be one of those things that causes some discomfort that, like you said, Brian, you just have to wrap your head around it because, and you have to go back to Powell for the Lakers having an international star on their team. But as important as Powell was, he still was not in the pecking order that Luka represents for this team. Like if Powell got hurt playing for Spain, that would be a big deal for the Lakers, but it is not comparatively the same big deal if Kobe had gotten hurt for the Lakers. So again, you're just going to have to get used to this as a Laker fan who was not inherently caught up in Luka's performances for Slovenia in the first place.
You were not you're talking about the Laker fan, Andy, who perhaps hadn't planned on watching Eurobasket last January. Like they weren't getting themselves ready.
Dude, they didn't know what Eurobasket was. You and I cover basketball, NBA related and otherwise, as a job. It's taken me like a month to realize Eurobasket's not made up. Like,
no, I knew it was a real thing. I did know it was. I never watched it, but I did know it was a real thing.
I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, I knew, but
still not even quite sure. If I'm being honest, I don't quite know what they're playing.
It's some sort of a basket viewing, European basket viewing. I'm not sure, but to your point, like I knew what it was, and I know it's important. I know it's a big tournament, but I wasn't going to otherwise pay attention to it. And I think a lot of Lakers fans are obviously like that. Like they're, it's not disparaging the quality of the basketball. It's just not something that people are going to be watching. And The important thing is, though, there are two things, and I'll say the first one here and then the second one after the break. The first important thing is, again, you cannot ask him not to play. Like, it can, if there is a year where Luka's banged up, he's coming out, like there's an injury, he finishes the season, like he may make decisions in different off seasons not to play, but the team really can't.
It would have to be very risky for Luka to play,
right,
for the Lakers to say something,
or just flat out he's just injured. Like, I think Luka gets the responsibility he's got as a professional to the organization, but at the same time, it's a non-negotiable. He's going to play for Slovenia internationally if he is able to, and that's just how it is always going to be. But the second thing, it's actually related to some of the stuff that we've been talking about throughout a lot of the summer, and I'll get to that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th marks officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who love bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, again, August 26th, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP shot, eyeing a long shot division winner, or just ready to crown a Super Bowl champ before week one even begins, this is your moment. You can take a flyer on the MVP race. I'm calling my shot now, Lamar Jackson. I think it's just basically going to be for the next couple of years, a traveling trophy going back and forth between him and Josh Allen. Maybe a dark horse could be CJ Stroud from Houston. If you believe in a third-year bounce back, you can crown a champion in August. I actually think this is going to be the year, finally, that Buffalo breaks through and wins a Super Bowl. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bet now, because Futures Day, just one day, August 26th, one day only. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, so we'll get to a couple things. There's some Rui news. There is some Pat Riley statue news. We'll get to it here in a second. But just to finish this Luka conversation, this is part of the same arc of benefits, so to speak, Andy, that comes with the fitness thing and the body transformation. I'm like, because I realize these games do not count for his NBA ledger. Like, they're not going on, his permanent record with the NBA, and it's not something we necessarily are going to think about every time we talk about the amount of basketball that he's playing. But it's too narrow just to say NBA season, playoffs, like that's his workload. Like, this counts, and it's very manageable. It's not a crazy amount of games compressed into a crazy amount of time. It's when he would be training and working out and doing all these things and playing some anyway, just as part of his offseason preparation. But these are games. They are hard fought. They create wear and tear. They do all this, like this international competition that we're going to be seeing Luka in, whether it's Eurobasket, whether it's an Olympic qualifier, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's the World Cup year after year, whatever. It is part of what goes into the total mileage of Luka Dončić. And it is another reason why this transformation of his fitness, this transformation of his diet, and all this other stuff is important, because if he's going to be doing this stuff too, if he doesn't keep himself kind of together, it wears out faster. Everything just goes faster.
Yeah, we've talked before. I remember in particular with both Tim McMahon when he was promoting his book Wonder Boy about Luka Doncic, which if you have not read, you should, because it is a really, really good look at Luka's entire basketball upbringing from Slovenia and Real Madrid to the Mavericks to the Lakers. But with Tim McMahon and also Itzhak Franco, who's covered Luka since Real Madrid, in a lot of ways, Luka is comparable to a child star in that he's been working professionally in basketball since he was a teenager. And, he was playing for the equivalent of the junior club or whatever for Real Madrid. He wasn't playing against truly grown-ass adults when he was 13, but this was serious business. And I get the impression that insofar as the toll that it may take on you, it is more strenuous than, say, the typical 13-year-old AAU circuit in America. I may be wrong about that, but that's the impression that I get.
And they're generally pretty careful about minutes, and young guys don't always play a lot, but he's been doing this a while. He is not, he's 26 years old. This is his seventh year.
This is going to be coming up his eighth season in the NBA.
Eighth season. He's got more mileage on his basketball body. If you cut him open and count his rings, so to speak, from a basketball perspective, he's not 26.
Right.
He's got more mileage than that. And
that's not necessarily a problem, so to speak. Like he is still, just now entering his prime. And it's not like it's the equivalent of buying a sports car with 150,000 miles on it. Like, he's fine. It's just something that I think all of us have to be cognizant of, because again, like, it's been a while since the Lakers have had a true international star to begin with, much less one of Luka's stature and importance. Like, it's basically Powell, then wherever you think Vlade was, I guess, and that's going back 30 years in terms of Vlade's importance with the team. He's a pretty good player, but I don't even think he was at Pau Gasol's importance. So this is fairly uncharted territory for Laker fans to, again, just get used to.
The other thing too, and this makes a difference, Pau played for a stronger national team, so there was more support there. Particularly after Mark ascended, and like there was more. And I'm not trying to disparage Slovenia, right? Not trying to Rudy Fernandez. Not disparaging, Slovenia's national team talent, but they're on a ton of NBA guys on that roster, where a lot of guys on the Spanish national team played in the NBA. So it's just that team wasn't quite as dependent on Pau either. But anyway, he's fine. But we all made it through watching Anthony Davis play internationally and like getting terrified every time he hit the floor, which was way too often. We can do this together, Lakers fans. We can make this okay. We can make it work. So next, Andy, is the Pat Riley statue. We didn't quite get a chance to talk about it last week, but Riles is going to get his statue this year. It'll be a game against the Celtics, which obviously makes a ton of sense from a sort of pageantry standpoint. If it's going to be against any team, the Celtics make the most sense.
That's really fun. Like, that's very clever scheduling on
it's great
of the Lakers. That's really, really fun.
And I don't think anybody's going to argue somehow that Pat Riley doesn't deserve a statue. Like, it's cool to like they've done so many players and all that kind of to pull a coach now, I think is great. You honestly, not that I've heard any things about Pat Riley and illness or anything like that, but he is not a young man anymore. And it's the horrible lesson, with Kobe, the one thing they did, they got the jersey retirement and all that stuff. They didn't wait. Don't wait. If you got these things to do, don't wait, do them. And so Pat Riley's going to get his statue. It's going to be a great night.
Yeah, undoubtedly it will be a lot of fun. I'm sure he will give a terrific, if, as you mentioned before on Friday, probably a long speech, but I bet it's going to be really, really good. There will be people lining up to speak before this. Like, I mean, you will probably have to draw lots to get the chance to help be a part of this, because there are going to be so many people from Showtime and beyond, but in particular,
they are going to have to flip the lights on and off a few times, or the game might start late.
I mean, look, the Showtime team is still very tight. We work with Michael Thompson at 710 ESPN. We've talked a lot with him about this stuff, and frankly, you just see it in the way these guys all interact with each other. When Michael Cooper just had his jersey retired, basically everybody was there. There was that awesome reunion that they all had in Hawaii that was terrific, but they all truly enjoy each other's company. I think this paves the way to Phil Jackson getting a statue. And to your point, Brian, don't wait, because Phil is also not a young man, and he's had health scares. He's had a cancer battle years ago, but he's getting up there in age.
Pat Riley is 80, by the way. I'll look up how old Phil is.
And, for that matter, it's overdue. And were I to guess the
79.
reason it's taken, pardon?
He's 79. Phil is a little older than I thought.
And, it's taken a little, I feel like this is overdue. And if I had to guess, it is because the Buss family may have felt like it would be perceived as gauche to own the team and give their father, Dr. Buss, a statue. Like, I think it's unnecessary to have any apprehension about that, but I understand it. But either way, now that the sale of the team has been announced and is eventually going to go through, I would not be surprised at all if pretty soon Dr. Buss has a statue, which I think we can all agree well deserved. I think he earned that.
Nobody's going to argue that.
And it's also really cool. It's really cool too. And we'll talk about the idea of who comes next among Laker legends. But the idea that
we'll do that. Yeah.
The idea of the plaza at crypto.com arena, it is as much now with all of these different statues, and they mostly involve Lakers, but there's Wayne Gretzky, there are people connected with other sports. It's as much a museum now in front of the arena, like a museum of LA sports history connected to that area and to those teams. It's really awesome. Like, it's actually, I think, a very cool feature that's very unique to LA, because there are only so many cities that you could do something like this without it feeling ridiculous or forced.
So we'll ask that question though of who is next. So at this point, Andy, everybody knows the rules. You have to be a Hall of Famer. You have to have your jersey retired if you're a player.
For the Lakers, specifically.
For the Lakers, right. And so that's you're not getting a statue without those things. Having those things does not guarantee you getting a statue. But those are the basic things. Like, you got to be in the Hall of Fame to get your jersey retired, and you're not getting a statue without your jersey being retired. So start with that. If you're a player, coaches, you gotta be Pat Riley or Phil. I think that's basically, Frank Vogel won a title, not getting a statue. So
I mean, he didn't coach here long enough for it anyway.
Nope. Didn't have a chance, but that's, but he's not getting a statue. I agree with you. Phil is next. I think they will be at some point a statue for Dr. Buss, which there absolutely should be. None of this that we're talking about with the Lakers at Staples Center, with the Kings and all he is at the center of all of that stuff, even again, going back to the Kings and stuff. So that's coming. Players, I think of older players, the only guy left that I think you can make an argument for is Worthy. And I don't know if he's quite up to a statue. The big question I think people have are more modern players. Like LeBron, especially if the Lakers happen to, go to another conference final or another final, or certainly if they win again, LeBron is going to have his jersey retired.
Jeannie Buss is already there. There's nothing to figure out. Jeannie Buss has already said that his jersey is going up in the rafters. Right. This has been on the record. I
think ultimately, AD is obviously going to the Hall of Fame. I think ultimately AD will have his jersey retired in LA.
So do I.
And I'm cool with both, by the way. I don't think either one of them gets a statue, though. Do you?
On the merits,
maybe if LeBron wins one more in LA.
If LeBron wins another one, then I think his case starts becoming more strong. Especially when you start factoring in some of the records that were set as a Laker, the milestones passed as a member of this team, passing Kareem for the all-time scoring record. He passed Kobe as a Laker, that sort of thing.
And if he wins another title like that, because if they win a title, let's say this season, is he going to leave the season? I don't know. But like you're talking at that point, probably potentially even about like a 10-year run in LA, like long time.
Right. But for now, I mean, if I have to judge this on now, and especially if they don't win another title with LeBron, other than, like I mentioned, some of those historic milestones and the acknowledgement of what LeBron has meant to the league and to basketball, and I suppose perhaps some small p politics with the Clutch thing and the Lakers' future dealings with Clutch, that sort of thing. I don't think LeBron, his time as a Laker, merits a statue. Like if I'm being honest, like I've said before, the career, the all-time great career as a Laker that I find most comparable to LeBron's is Wilt's. They each have one title as a Laker. They each have one Finals MVP as a Laker. They're both at the tail ends of their career. Like they both continue to play at high levels, but neither one of them at the true peak of their powers, like the thing that made them them. And other than the fact that LeBron will certainly by the end of this season have played 8 with the Lakers as opposed to Wilt's 5, and I guess if 3 extra seasons push you over the top, so be it. Wilt, I don't think would get a statue for any other reason than he's Wilt Chamberlain. I think it's very comparable with LeBron. Like the biggest reason I feel like you would give LeBron that statue, honestly, is because he's LeBron, which, to be clear, is not an insignificant reason. But
most great players, you don't get. Like Michael Jordan didn't have a statue outside. I mean, I realize he didn't play for the team, but to your point, just being great isn't enough. And I think the case it's a different thing. Like in my mind, at least, like jersey retirement, I think a little bit is, Wilt has his jersey retired in part because he's Wilt Chamberlain and he played for the Lakers and he played well. I mean, don't get me wrong. He averaged like 19 rebounds a game as a Laker. But
Finals MVP the year the Lakers finally broke through in the 70s.
He finished third for MVP in the year they won the title. He finished fourth the next season. He was an all-star four times with the Lakers and so on. The year he wasn't was the year he was hurt. And he played 82 games a year basically in 4 of his 5 seasons. Very durable.
And he also had more deep runs as a Laker than LeBron.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with obviously Wilt Chamberlain having his jersey retired, but there statues, and I feel the same about LeBron. Like LeBron's on-court accomplishments are enough that, especially when you factor in who he is, he deserves it. Like that, his statistical contribution to the Lakers is going to be really impressive by the time it's all said and done, whether it's this year, the year following, or whatever. But like to me at least, and fans might disagree, we'll see a lot in the comments because talk about a polarizing player among Lakers fans. Statues are like about like a connection even more so. It's a deeper thing. It's like it's a sign of like belovedness around, and like not just impact, but also how you are beloved and all that kind of stuff. And do people think of Wayne Gretzky as an Oiler or a King? I don't know, but he transformed hockey in America and obviously was incredibly impactful as a King. You look at what some of the guys around
hockey
the
in Southern California may not exist the way we know it.
May not. The Florida Panthers are like having parades every year these days. South Florida hockey is not a thing without Wayne Gretzky. Like there is some space for lifetime achievement, but that lifetime achievement needs to come with the team that is honoring you. And LeBron's transformative impact didn't happen with the Lakers. And so, he's not thought of as LA's guy. or somebody who came to LA and did something transformative for the organization. Shaq came to LA and did something transformative. Kobe, obviously, and Chick, and Phil Jackson's going to be there, and Pat Riley's going to be there. Jerry
Magic,
West
Kareem,
is transformative.
Elgin
Magic,
Baylor.
Kareem, these are transformative players, and
transformative with the
that's
Lakers.
not,
to be clear, with the
correct,
Lakers.
correct, and that's not what LeBron has been. And so it feels different. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think LeBron even would disagree. Like, I don't, he would show up to the statue unveiling, but like LeBron's statue belongs in Cleveland. That's where the LeBron statue ought to be, and probably will be.
I'd say Miami
in a
as
few
well.
Years. Maybe. Like, I think the Heat could certainly do it. But like, if you had to pick a place where a statue for LeBron James ought to be, and like it ought to be somewhere. Like, now that statue making for athletes is a thing, it should be in Cleveland, in my opinion. And so I don't think, unless he has another title or two, I don't think he gets one outside crypto.
Yeah, in that sense, I think as far as Laker players go, unless Worthy got decided upon one, which I think Worthy is a really interesting case. 3 championships, 12 years as a lifer, finals MVP in 88. The amount of time that he spent trying to convince Anthony Davis to wear goggles.
Yeah.
And by the way, just awesome dude. Like, just a really, really great guy.
And like, that's a great example. Like, who's better player, LeBron or Worthy? It's not even close. It's LeBron. But who's a better Laker? Who is more tied into the Laker fabric and the Laker community? It's James Worthy. It's not even close.
I mean, right down to him being a part of Spectrum Sportsnet's broadcast team for several years, and also being really, really good at that.
Fans would not object. They might say, is he totally worth? No, but they'd show up and they'd be like, awesome, James Worthy statue. People would argue about LeBron.
Before we go, something interesting that popped into my head as we were thinking about, or as I was just thinking about statues at crypto.com arena. Sue Bird just got a statue with the Seattle Storm, and I guess this made her the first WNBA player with a statue. I did not realize that. But it raised the question to me of whether or not Lisa Leslie should have a statue in front of crypto.com. 12 years as a Sparks lifer, including the inaugural season for the Sparks, 2 titles, 3 MVPs, 4 Olympic golds. She's obviously in the Hall of Fame. She has been beyond influential in women's sports. She's an Angelino, born and raised out here. Very, very popular, and for what it's worth, very, very nice. We've both worked with her, met her many times. And like, the Sparks have played in that building for almost the majority of their existence. And I'll be honest, the thought never occurred to me before, and it probably should have. But especially too with like the WNBA now really starting to enjoy a long overdue moment and recognition, just got me thinking, like, Lisa Leslie has it. I feel like she has a case at the very least for that building in this city.
I would agree. She's a Hall of Famer. Her jersey is in the rafters in the building. They have the banners up for those titles that the Sparks won. I don't see any reason not to. I mean, like, and you look around, like, there's a statue of Gretzky there, in part because of his impact. Like, there is, granted,
Robitaille has a statue, yes?
Mm-hmm. I believe so. The one statue most people are like, is the De La Hoya statue. But like, if Oscar has
that was business. That was just business.
That's a business statue. But
it really was. It's kind of ridiculous.
If that one's like, I think you can make a very strong argument for Lisa Leslie. And I think that'd be a cool thing. I mean, but especially like you said, it's not just the fact that she did those things with the Sparks. It's that she is deeply, deeply ingrained in LA basketball.
Yep.
And so that's a good one. We should put that out there. Let us know who you think ought to be the next person or persons to have statues outside the crypto.com arena. Keeping in mind too, is there's still one more to come for Kobe.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, it's tough. Like, you know, it's a tough real estate to get into. Locked on Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 36,000 subscribers to the channel. Remember, Luke is fine. We'll see you tomorrow.